Hello everyone and welcome to a creative tutorial. I haven't done these before, but I hope this one does well. In this video, I'll be showing you a simple battle bus system in creative mode. This works with UEFN or Creative 1.0, but in this video, I'll be making it in Creative 1.0. So without further ado, let's just get started. Okay, so we are in a creative mode thing, lobby, whatever. So here is how the mechanics are going to work. This is basic visual of it. So when the game starts, this timer will set off. This basically tells the sequencer to go off. This will really quickly, it'll loop, it'll play these two triggers like 32 times per. One of them will enable this mutator zone, the other one will disable it. What happens when this gets enabled is that the player is entering it according to the game. So when the player enters the zone, it'll teleport them to this rift. This rift will be in the skydive volume, which is our battle bus. But these won't be enabled immediately on game start. So if it was just like this, it would set off the sequencer, enable the mutator zone, but nothing would happen. So while this timer is ticking down, another timer will start, and before I continue, you can either have this timer or just have this random number generator. This just puts a little bit of delay to this, so it's optional, because this one can start on game start. It's up to you how you want to do it. This timer will go off on game start. It's really short, like 3 seconds. Once it finishes, it tells this random number generator to pick a number from 1 through 8, and it'll have 8 sections in its zone. It shows 8 just because there will be 8 skydive volumes for this tutorial, but if you want to make more, go ahead and try. It's pretty simple once you know how to make the mechanic. Once this goes off and it chooses a number, that zone will activate, then there will be a trigger in each zone. Each of those triggers will correspond to a different skydive route, and then when it goes off, it enables the teleporter and the skydive volume. So basically, that is a completely random route going through the sky. That's pretty much it, so let's get on to making the mechanic now. Alright, to start our mechanic, let's pull out the devices required to make the skydive volume. So let's get a random number generator, let's get a trigger, let's get a teleporter, a skydive volume, and then we gotta get ourselves a mutator zone. So, to begin with this, let's pull out a mutator zone. Let's just pretend, let's just do this little hut right here. Pretend this is our spawn island. You want your mutator zone to be flipped over, completely covering spawn island. So, players have to be in this to be teleported. If they're not, then they won't get teleported. So if I was here and this went off, I'd get teleported. Next up, you want to set up your random number generator. So, computer controls are a bit confusing. I'm used to console. Let's pull out a random number generator. Let's rename this Random Root Chooser. Why not? Probably not a word, but I do not care. Set our value limit 1 to 1 and our value limit 2 to 8. So this has 8 different values. Winning value, just set that to 0. It doesn't matter. And then set your length to, I'd say, around 2 works. Width and height, just set to 0.5 if you want, or keep them at 1. It doesn't matter. Roll time, make that 1 second. You can do instant, but I'm doing 1 second just so nothing bugs out. You can choose pick each number once and reset on game start if you want, so you won't get the same route in the span of multiple rounds, if that makes sense. So if you have 5 rounds of your BR, you won't get the same route twice, and it'll reset every time the 5 rounds are over. The zone, you want a zone, just set it as forward. Any direction works, you just need a zone. So there's 8 different squares, each of these will be a different route. Now that we have this set up, then you need to set up your triggers for each. So, random no in the middle of the video, I'm recording this after I recorded that. Make sure the trigger is inside of the sequencer square thing of the random number generator. Otherwise, it will not activate. So, that's the first trigger. So, rename this one to Southwest Roots Trigger. And then, make sure you lock in that name. Turn off triggered by player just in case someone manages to touch it. They probably won't, but I just turned it off to be safe. Same thing with vehicles and by water. Don't activate on game phase. Times can trigger infinite. Trigger sounds disabled, VFX disabled. Visible in game, no. Thing enabled on game start, yeah. So this is just a trigger that can only be activated by this. So then you want to have a teleporter. This teleporter will be our battle bus route, or what teleports us to the route. Rename this Southwest Route Teleporter. Doesn't need a group. Enabled during phase none. Make sure it's set to none, because if it's set to all, then the route will break. When you set enabled during phase to none, that'll make it invisible. That is fine. It's visible in the video because I set it to always just for the video. Just make sure that when you're putting your teleporters in the skydive volumes later on, they are set to none in enabled during phase. Not visible, no visual effects, no sound effects. Do not conserve momentum. And then effect radius, doesn't matter. Relative position, doesn't matter. So now that we have that, this will enable when receiving from this, which activates when this goes off. So in the skydive route, so you want it to be positioned in a specific way. So its top side needs to be going in the direction you want to fly in. So I'll position it like this, so we'd be flying this way. Then I'm going to rename it Southwest Skydive Volume. Visible during game, no or yes, it's up to you. Set its width to like maximum 5, because this is as large as like your bus is going to be, because people need to be able to fly out of it. I keep mine at 2 usually, because this can fit most people if you turn off the player collisions, but 3 also works. Set its height to max, so this will go all the way through. If you have an XL island or something that it can't cover, you will want to resize its height as large as you can go. So now this, now that it's scaled as far as it can get, this just goes all the way across. So when I have it in that corner of the map, it'll go all the way there, not like stop early. Now that we have this, the settings, enabled during none. Push force, I would advise giving it like 1, just something in the positives. Do not lock them. Launch velocity, that doesn't matter. Glide redeploy, yes. Skydive effects, that is up to you if you want. I'm gonna just keep it on for this video though. So now we have our skydive. Okay, so editing me here again, I would advise you put your skydive above your teleporter and that teleporter above the trigger. Just make sure everything's like organized, because you're gonna be copying and pasting things later on. So we have our skydive on, we have our teleporter, we have all of these. Next up, what we want to do, get our mutator zone that we placed earlier, set it to teleport to bus mutator. And then what we want to do is, now that we renamed this mutator, we want it so when a player enters it, it teleports them to that teleporter. So on its defense, on player entering zone, sends to the southwest teleporter, and we want it to teleport them to it. So if this is disabled, but then it gets enabled, as long as I'm in this, I'll get sent to this. That is, as long as this is enabled as well. Now that you have this system set up where it teleports you to this once it gets enabled. Oh yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention earlier. Make sure you set the mutator to be disabled on game start, so it just won't be there. So now we have this system set up, we have our skydive volume, which doesn't enable at the moment, but it will in a minute. Okay, so now what we want to do is get this trigger. So this is what enables these two. So we want it to be on triggered, sent to southwest, the teleporter, enable that, and the skydive volume, enable that. So what'll happen is when this random device gets triggered, if it selects this trigger, it'll tell this to enable these two. So when this mutator zone goes off, it'll teleport to these two specifically. Now we want to repeat the process of these triggers and skydive volume 7 more times. So if you do this with multi-selects, just multi-selecting them and copying them, it should keep the binding going. These will still teleport when receiving from the mutator zone, so yeah, you just need to rename them. So skydive volume 2, this will be our south skydive volume. This will be our south route teleporter. And this will be our south route trigger. Just always make sure you check to make sure it's working. Space. So now we have 2 different routes. So one in the south and one in the southwest. So I'm going to keep renaming these and just copying them. I'm going to use this quick segment to promote my supporter creator code. You can use it in the Fortnite shop, Epic Games shop, anything that has supporter creator code that is on the Epic Games store, it functions there. So code LunaFN if you'd like to support me. And yeah, back to the video. Okay, and Now they're all named, so each of these correspond to a different corner of the map. So this is southeast or southwest, south, southeast, east. Wait. Oh, forgot to rename something. Southeast. And then we got east, we got northeast, we got north, we got northwest, and oh my god, west. Cool. West skydiving. So these all correspond to different corners. So now they make sure you check your mechanics because binding is still pretty buggy. You just want to make sure that everything functions. Make sure that nothing's gonna mess something else. I am doing this without a script, so if I like ramble on, this doesn't make sense, please let me know. Yeah, see, things don't get renamed, and it just kind of bugs out, so you really want to make sure that everything functions. Yep, okay, cool. This entire thing's functioning. So this will set off, it'll choose one of these routes, enable that route, and all of these teleporters, actually it'll be easier to see this. All these teleporters will be on here. So now you set up your routes. So we're gonna have 8 routes going across. So this will be our southwest route. So we're going to copy the teleporter and the skydive volume. Make sure you cut it, do not copy it. So this will be southwest, so let's head this way. This is just gonna be like a really lazy, like just not perfect skydive route, but I'm just trying to this place. So this, when you teleport to it, it'll fly you all the way across the islands until you hit the barrier. And then this one, this is our south route. So make sure you only cut them, don't copy. So this going across south. So you're just going to keep placing them according to where they're named. So this one is going to be our southeast. Place this. And this one is going to be our east. This one is going to be our northeast. This one is going to be our north. And then this one, you guessed it, it's going to be our northwest. And then the final one is going to be the west. And you need to rotate it. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So now we have all of our skydive volumes set up. It's a bit messy, but they go across the map as they're supposed to. So, just to recap what we've done so far. This mutator zone, this will, when the player enters it, it will teleport them to whichever one of these routes are enabled. The routes are enabled by a random device, which when it sets off, it'll choose one of these, which then the trigger it hits will enable a different route. Hopefully that makes sense. Next up, we need to get the starting teleporter, which will enable the sequencer, which will teleport you. So, to do this mechanic, we will need a sequencer. So, it's now called the pulse trigger. I'm still used to sequencer. We'll need 2 triggers. I already have that equipped. Whoops. Then we will need a timer. So, place down your sequencer. It's got to be on a player build, unless you're in UEFN, and this can be done like anywhere. Set the name of this pulse trigger to be teleport players pulse. And then let's set its tempo all the way to 180. I gotta click really fast with some 1.0 devices. Yeah, if you're on 2.0 devices, just type in 180. And then set the length to 0.5, width 0.5, height 0.5, so it's as small as possible. Looping. We need this to loop for the amount of players you have in your map. Okay, so let's just go by 16x. So this will loop 16 times. So it'll teleport 16 players. So let's get our trigger and let's place the first one. The first trigger, so this will enable the mutator zone. Let's name it enable teleport mutator, and not triggered by player, not vehicles, just sequencers, not water. Don't activate in game phase, no VFX, no sounds, not visible in game, yada yada. So what this will do is this will enable that, which will teleport the player to one of the routes. Because the player is the instigator when they're entering the zone, so it knows who to teleport. If you just have it set so this trigger teleports the player to the skydive volume, there's a good chance it just won't teleport them. So, let's just assume we have 32 players in our map, like maximum. 16x, so this will go off 16 times, so we need 2 of these triggers. So, before we do that, on triggered, this will tell the mutator... teleport to bus mutator. we want this to enable when we're saving from this. And then the next one, this will disable it, so that way it can enable again. Disable teleport mutator, and switch that to disable. So, what happens? This will go off. These two will be spammed a ton of times. Enable is disabled. Every time it enables, a random player, or hopefully all of the players at once, will get teleported to one of the randomly chosen routes that we have already made. So, since we have 32 players, and this only goes off 16 times, you can duplicate it. So if it goes outside of it, you can either move these triggers closer, or just do what I'm doing and increase the length. So now, this will teleport him 32 times. And it's only the people in the mutator. So if you've already teleported, it won't re-teleport you. Now that we have this, how do we activate it? Since this is the very last thing that'll happen in the mechanic, get your timer, and then let's rename this to teleport to bus timer. Let's say you want to wait 50 seconds. The second the game starts, for the first 50 seconds you're on Spawn Island, and then you teleport to the bus. So let's put timer name. This doesn't matter. I'm just going to put it as teleporting in. This won't be seen in game unless the timer is visible in game. Start on game start, yes. Let's go to all options. Visible during game, I'm setting this to no, so you won't be able to see it, but you can set it to yes if you want. Timer running text, or text, so if you want it on the HUD, this would be what you put on. So if I put get ready to board the battle bus in, this will be what displays on the HUD. Show on HUD, yes or no, that's up to you. I'm setting it as yes. No urgency mode unless you want that, that's up to you. Audio effects, I'm going to have that off. You want it on, you can totally do that. So this will start on game start. Once 50 seconds have passed, it will activate this, which then teleports the players. So, how we want it to activate the pulse trigger is on success, tell the pulse trigger to start the sequence. So then this finishes, this goes off. So now we have if one of these were enabled on game start, this would function. So if you had a single route, then this would already work, as long as one was enabled. But we want to enable them. So this doesn't go off on its own, so they'll never get enabled. So what you want to do is just either activate a game phase, or if you want to do what I do, just to prevent any issues, get another timer. This will be activate random route. And then let's set this to be really short, like 3 seconds. Timer name if you want in-game, yeah, but you probably won't want it. Starting game start, yes, applies to everyone. Visible during game, no. If you want it visible, go ahead. Time running text, if you want it on the HUD, go ahead, put something there, but I won't have it there. Urgency mode, up to you. Definitely won't need it, but if for some reason you need it, go ahead. Audio effects off. So, this will start on game start, and then after 3 seconds pass, it will activate this random number chooser thing, which will then randomly choose a route. Which then, once one of these are chosen, it enables one of these. Then, on the side, once these 50 seconds pass, it'll activate this, which then disables the zone, which when you enter the zone, it teleports you, which that's basically your battle bus system right there. But let's tell this to, on success, tell the random route chooser to activate. And that's pretty much it. If you followed everything along and did it right, it should function. So let's get a spawn pad, and let's just start game, see if it functions. Let's make sure we're inside the mutator zone, so inside our quote-unquote spawn islands. Okay, so it just activated that. Now a route has enabled. I don't see it, but a route's enabled. Let's just wait for this timer to go. Alright, it's almost over. Let's see if it teleports us. Oh no, we did something wrong. Alright, let's figure out what we did wrong. So let's check out. So we got teleported to that corner. Oh, okay, so I forgot to do this earlier. So your teleporters, you want them to be inside of the skydive volume. So let's just do that really quickly. And there we go. We should have every single teleporter inside of the skydive volume. everything should hopefully function now, so let's start game. Let's see if this functions. I've got to put this in as well. Make sure you also have your teleporters set to be disabled on game start, because if they're all enabled, yeah. So they'll be invisible and they're disabled, but that's all good. You'll still be able to find them. If you want to set it to pregame only, I'm sure that'll work, but just to be careful, I would advise setting it to none. Okay, so now all of our routes should actually be functioning for real this time. Like, this is like the third time I've done this. Yeah, there's always gonna be mistakes, and that's where you fix them. Well, let's start the game, and let's see if this functions. We're in our mutator zone, so if it enables, we will get teleported. If you're outside of it, you won't get teleported. Make sure it's over your spawn island, or wherever the players are housed. Alright, let's see. 3, 2, 1... And it functions! We are now flying across the map. You can set the push volume to be a lot higher if you want to go faster, but just for this video I have it slow. Completely random. And then when you want to land somewhere, you just fly out. Let's start that one more time just to make sure it's random and it's not just choosing one for some reason. It chose that. So, let's see. Boom, another route was chosen. So yeah, that's how you make a battle bus system. Well, it was a tutorial. Hopefully this is helpful to you. If you need anything, like, if you need me to clear up anything in the comments, just, if something doesn't go right, ask me in the comments, and I will do my best to reply. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.